So we are going to, let's introduce ourselves. First, I'm Susan Norwell, educational specialist, co-founder of Rett University, and I am thrilled that you are here. Courtney?
I'm Courtney Barnum. I am Susan's counterpart and a Rett U coach, and really excited that everybody's here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yep, we're going to talk about partner-assisted scanning and soft questioning. What is it and how do we do it? And a little bit of why we do it, which I think is also important. So let's see if I can make my computer stop dinging at me and maybe see. I may need to move you all. Let's see if I can make you smaller because I think it cuts off my PowerPoint. So hold on just a minute while how did that happen? Let's see, options. I think that got smaller. All right, so partner assisted scanning, PAS, is a methodology used to try and get answers from kids or communication from kids that is a low motor demand. And so we use it for answering academic questions, writing, participating with peers. And because it's a low motor demand, and the reason is, and I'll show you this because I'll explain it. So let's say I've got a preschooler and they're going to circle time and I say, oh my goodness, who would you like to sit next to? Do you want to sit next to Johnny or Susie? I can do it two ways. I can have a picture of Johnny and Susie on the back. Boy, and if anybody called me Susie, I'd smack them. All right, so, except for my sister. All right, so Johnny and Susie, pictures could be back here. And I say, I'm going to ask you, do you want Johnny or Susie? I say it kind of fast. Then slowly I say, okay, do you want Johnny? Yes or no? Do you want Susie? Yes or no? And the reason it's low motor is because the yes and the no don't move. So if I hold up two choices and I say, do you want Johnny or you want Susie? Now, anytime I offer her a choice, what she wants might be in a different place. And so now what happens is there's more motor planning involved. There's always the yes on the left. We say yes, no, left, right. We sit on the yes side so they can look at us. But this is the lowest motor that we can ask them because it always stays in the same place. And I use this for writing. I use this for answering questions. I have kids now that are reading at such a level that any kind of quiz has got 4 answers, A, B, C, D. They have to read them. They have to read the answers. And I say, okay, is it A? Yes or no? Is it B? Yes or no? But you can also do it auditorily. You don't really have to have a visual there. I have a lot of kids who can respond really quickly to just a verbal choice. And it's a fast way for peers. So I've done a lot of inclusion work with my kids with Rett syndrome in classrooms. I teach the other kids really quickly how to do this. And I'll tell you that way they can figure out what they want to add to a project, what their peer wants to add to a project without an adult having to step in and be bossy and kind of ruin the peer interaction, which I think would be good. Courtney, did you want to say something?
I was also just going to say you can also I have a math example up here for us as well. You can use it for literally every subject in the thing, so it doesn't have to just be reading and writing.
Right. So I use it for making words, for decoding, we use it for writing, we use it for science, we use it for everything. It must be modeled repeatedly for the student for them to know what we're talking about. And so the first thing I do is always have parents kind of embed the yes, no in everything they're doing. Like, do I need to go to the store? Yes, I need to go to the store. Yes, I do. Do I want to go to the store? No, I really don't want to, honey, because it's like a long line. But look how I'm modeling the use of the yes, no way before I expect them to use the yes, no in any meaningful kind of way. And the first teaching should be an absolutely errorless teaching. Who do you want to sit next to? What snack do you want? What's your favorite color? None of those have a right, wrong answer. And I'm not going to use this for right, wrong assessment until they've got it. Till I know that when they say, yes, I want the pretzels, and I hand them the pretzels, they're happy. Now, if they're not happy, I say, oh my gosh, did I make a mistake? I thought you said yes to the pretzels. Are you telling me no to the pretzels? Let me try again, because you know Miss Susan sometimes gets a little wacky and I can't figure things out. And we do it again. And what are we doing? We're giving them lots of practice with the yes, no in an errorless way so that they get it. Because the whole idea isn't to start out assessing. We start out assessing, we haven't done enough teaching. And with our complex kiddos, kids with Rett, kids with CP, kids with Down syndrome, kids with autism, any of our complex kids, they need a lot of practice, and they need the practice to be errorless, or guess what? They're going to be scared to do it. If they don't know it first and we're asking them a right-wrong question and they haven't gotten the gist of this, then we haven't been very fair. It would like me saying to somebody, Susan, you need to do a triple flip on those ice skates before I've ever put them on. You know, that's the analogy. Okay, so make it motivating, decrease the anxiety as much as possible, because our kids are very afraid to make mistakes. And I will tell you, I work with a lot of adults right now. I just started working with a 35-year-old who just got her device, has Rett syndrome, and the first thing we had to get through was the fact that I already knew she was smart and that she didn't have to be all worried and anxious about getting something wrong. Because when you get to a device and you're an adult, you know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And if you don't make it less anxiety provoking and more about learning and less about assessment, and for all of you that are out there that are learning how to be speech therapists, this is going to be really key for you, because I will tell you, your programs are going to hammer you with assessment. They're going to have you worry more about assessment than outcome. And that to me is really sad. So you just, whenever they talk assessment, you just tell them, I said no. Okay, there we go. That should help. I don't know how much, but it should help. All right, so it's important for them to have some kind of way out. So whenever I ask a kiddo a question, if that's right, wrong, the first one is, I don't know, I need to look back. So that they have a chance to say, I don't know, maybe I need to look back. Or I don't care who I sit next to. Some way that if they don't know, that they can get out of it. We sometimes have to read through the choices a couple of times, because some of our kids have great auditory processing. Our kids with Rett have great auditory processing. Kids with autism, Down syndrome, not so great with the auditory processing. So we may need to give them their choices a few times. The poorer the auditory processing, the more likely it is that we're going to need to use pictures to help them. And we always give them the choices in a consistent order. So when we're doing the ABC flip book, which I'm going to grab right now, I'm not leaving the room, I'm just walking over in my office. There I am, I'm back again. We're always saying A, B, C, D, yes or no. They're always grouped the same way, because what happens for our complex kids who have really poor motor planning is they start to develop some automaticity. I have kids now, I say A, B, and they're already on the no because they know what's coming. I say E, F, and they're on the no because they know what's coming. And that takes longer. I see Stephanie, how do I say your last name, Stephanie? Ponti?
Ponti.
Okay, Ponti. Who's like a CVI expert, and I have a young man that I'm working with, I just worked with today, so he's right close on my memory. It took him a full year to understand that there were more letters behind the first page. He could not build that internal visual map of what was going on. And today I was just reveling in the fact that I get to A, B, and he's like, no, hitting the switch, no, don't want that. You want E, F, and he's going already for the yes. Because he now has built a visual map, which was huge for him. And now he's able to write, which is great. Teach them how to rule out answers. So I have kids that say, there's 3 choices, and they say 2 yeses and 1 no. And I say, wait to narrow it down. You're ready for the ACT. Here we go. What you need to do now, the right answer is among these 2. Let's try just these 2 now, and let's see which one's right. If they're not, even if they're wrong, I wouldn't tell them they're wrong, but even if they're wrong, if they've thrown out the right answer, I still need them to narrow it down to 1 answer. Then I step into a different mindset. I'm not so worried about them getting the right answer. That's done. They already got the wrong answer. Now I'm worried about them learning the process. And I think what we do so often is we forget that there is a process they need to learn. You or I look at partner-assisted scan and go, well, that's pretty easy. They're going to give me 4 choices. I'm going to say yes to 1. I'm going to say no to 3. That is complicated for the kids we work with. That's not a slam dunk. And so we have to spend time errorlessly on the process. We have to help them initially when they're having to make wrong choices. Give them 2 choices. Then build up to 3. Then build up to 4, depending on their age and what's going on.
And just really quick, from working in schools and things like that, You will have some pushback when they narrow their choices. Well, they don't know the answer. But just look at them and say, typical children are taught this as a test-taking strategy when they are learning how to take the test. They are taught how to narrow down their choices. So please our girls can do the same thing. But again, it is a skill that has to be taught to them and practice ahead of time before we do it in an assessment or whatever. But make sure that they understand that this is a test-taking strategy that typical children are taught, and so we are just using the same strategy with our children, and they have been taught that strategy.
Yeah, and the other thing is I remember I was in a kindergarten meeting. I was in an IEP meeting for a kindergartner with Rett, and they said, well, we can't do just 2 choices because that could be 50-50. I said, I want you to look at the assessments for the kindergartners, the general education kindergartners, and they're doing like reading A to Z, and then level A and level B have 2 choices for the general ed kids. So you're not going to make it harder for my kids just because they have an IEP. That's ridiculous. If the general education population at that level's got 2 choices, my kids are going to have 2 choices. And guess what? If you were to ask, I'm not saying the same question, but a similar question across assessments, let's say a main idea question, and now you have 4 books that you've asked a main idea question, and they get it right 4 times in a row. When you do the math, which is way more complicated than I'm able to do, but I had a mathematician do it, I think the chance of it being chance is like 0.376%. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. So it's really vital that we get this under our belts for kids with complex needs, and it really helps reduce their anxiety when they have a way out. So we know that apraxia means we give them a command and their brain is processing it, but it can't get their body to perform the task. And when we make it simpler and give them a way to answer, first of all, they show us that they know a lot of information, but they're able to manage it because we're not asking them to do a different thing every time. So imagine I'm trying to assess whether they know their capital letters. And I'm putting them in places. And of course I'm rotating where the places are. I'm putting them in different places. Maybe it's twice in the beginning, and then once it's on this side, and then 2 more times it's on this side, and then on this side. I'm kind of randomizing it. The problem is they've got 2 steps now. They have to figure out what letter I've said and where it is. And then they have to look at it. But now if I have it in the middle and I say, is this an A? All they have to do is remember that my yes is here and my no is here. And I will tell you, I've had this happen because I have some kids that I've started working with when they were 2 and 3, and they're now adults, where I've had girls with Rett syndrome in particular lose the ability to turn and look. But their eyes still go to the yes or to the no. And that's really powerful. I think the words I say the most is I'll wait for you. So that they know that whether they're having a breathing episode, whether they're having an apraxic moment where they just can't get their body to do what they want it to do, that I'm going to wait for them. And I will tell you that if we don't wait, what they learn is learned helplessness. They learn she's not going to wait for me, so why should I bother? And I see this a lot for kids because people are in such a hurry all the time to get the right answer or to get whatever they need done or their checklist filled out, and they end up not getting as much information about that child or that adult. So please give them time to process. Don't repeat yourself. We know that's really bad even for kids with learning disabilities. The more often we say it, they're like having to reboot every time. It just doesn't work very well. And so I think if we really know what apraxia is, if we really understand visual processing issues, if we really understand auditory processing issues, we would talk a whole lot, not too slow because then they'll fall asleep, but a whole lot slower than I'm talking right now. That would be for sure. Anxiety assessment. So I'm trying to think. Oh, there. Question, command, demand is given. As it's given, anxiety rises. Then because the anxiety is rising, the apraxia increases. And then because we're kind of like, tapping our foot saying, I'm kind of thinking about, what was that? My cousin Vinny, when she's tapping her foot saying, my biological clock is ticking, and she's just kind of hurrying him up. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, that's what we do sometimes without really meaning to. we're trying to get through things and we're going so fast, and they're like, more and more apraxia, and then we end up with nothing. So this anxiety assessment cycle, I think, is really helpful, because sometimes it's just a matter of saying to somebody, I said to a kiddo the other day, oh my gosh, I don't know, I think Miss Susan is just going too fast. Sometimes you just have to tell me on their device, I'm going to slow down, Susan, what is the deal with you? And they, of course, thought that was really funny, that I was mad at myself. Humor breaks up the apraxia and the anxiety, and then we could move forward. So just some ideas. So
a funny story, Susan, I worked with an 18-year-old, and they asked me to teach a class in front of her with, to model how to do modeling and stuff with a whole group lesson. Well, it was kind of thrown on me last minute. All the district people were there. I started speaking fast because, of course, I was nervous.
Your apraxia went up, did it?
My young lady goes on her device and says, slow down. And I laughed hysterically. I was like, thank you for the reminder. But when we went into working together, in a separate room, it was funny because I slowed down and I was talking to her, and I said, you saw that Miss Courtney, Courtney was getting nervous, didn't you? And she looked straight at me and was like, yeah. And I said, my anxiety. I said, you know how that feels. When I identified with her, you know how that feels. She looked at me like, you get it. You understand what it feels like to have that anxiety and I said, yeah, I was really embarrassed about it. She was an angel and did so well the rest of the time I was with her, because she was like, you understand what I'm dealing with. So really make sure to, show those mistakes in front of our kids sometimes, because it really helps them feel a little less anxious.
So there's another place that we want to talk about using this, and that would be even in conjunction with a high-end device. So I have some kids that are using the Rett pages in SnapCore. And when they get to, I think, off of like a reading page or a learning page, I think, and it goes to feelings, good, bad, comments. And sometimes they get there and they're like, you can see them just getting stuck, because those buttons are small because they're in the very same location they are on the home page. And the home page, they're small buttons, so they didn't make them bigger, which is good, because now the motor planning's the same no matter where you are. But they kind of see those 3 buttons and they're like, they freeze. And I say, you know what, would it help you if I asked you, do you want the feelings button, yes or no? Do you want this button, yes or no? And they are so happy to tell me what they want. And then they go in, because there's lots of choices on the next page, and they're able to then chat about what they want. I had a kid this morning. This is so amazing to me. She is going to be 3 in November. And we have been just playing with sounds. A lot of rhyming in the books and sounds. And she's like a little bright little button. I mean, she uses her talker really well. Her mom is an amazing modeler, and this kid has just got great visual skills. But we were looking at, she had picked, when we were using the ABC flip book, she had picked, because we're just learning about, we're just scribbling. We're just, anybody who picks up a pencil and scribbles, what do our kids scribble with? They're scribbling with this. So I went, do you want E, F, G? And she said, yes. Do you want E? No. Do you want F? Yes. So I pulled up the, Storybot on the letter F. It has a lot of alliteration about F. And then I went into her page, her good comment page, and I went, look at it. It starts like fine and funny and fantastic. And darn it, if this almost 3-year-old in November didn't hit the word favorite. And I'm like, and that starts with F also. And thank you very much. Because I had said, I think that's all of them. And she hit favorite. So for her, this whole idea of kind of combining this writing, not in a way that is hard. It was just fun. We were just playing with the sounds. I'm trying to develop an ear print for her. My kids who are nonverbal can't go ba 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 their entire life, and then when they get to kindergarten say, oh, there's a B and it says ba, and they go, yeah, I know that. I've been playing with that sound since I was 6 months old. Our kids don't babble. Our kids don't on command make sounds. They can't play rhyming games. I remember as a kid playing Banana Fana Fo Fan in the back of the car and driving my parents nuts. Our kids can't do that. So what do? We do it for them, help them get that ear print. And at an early age, they need to have that kind of fed in. Like we babble with them so they can get it. So I'm going, ba, 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 bear, ba, 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 blue, ba, 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 butterfly. So I'm really emphasizing that beginning sound, which I'm sure a speech therapist would say, oh my gosh, maybe you shouldn't do that. But this is for nonverbal kids. They've got to hear that sound, because I'm not saying it right. You will learn as speech therapist how to make a B sound without adding the vowel after it. They will make sure that you can do that. I'm not so good at it. But this whole idea of partner-assisted scan is that we can very easily find out anything. This 39-year-old woman that I started working with, we read a book called The Boy Who Grew Flowers. I'm always looking for interesting books that talk about differences in a respectful way. And this is a young boy whose uncle raises snakes and whose cousins all shapeshift. Kind of a unique family. And he, on the full moon, grows flowers out of his body. And you would think this would stop him from going to school, but no, his mom just snips the flowers off and he goes to school every day. And the kids think he's odd because of his family. But this girl thinks he's really interesting. It comes to find out she's got legs that are uneven. And he looks at that, and her parents are all dancers. And he asked her if she's going to go to the dance, and she says no, and she's all embarrassed. And he leaves class, and he makes her a pair of shoes from the snake skin from the uncle's snakes, and leather from a bowling ball bag of his mother's that she uses for a purse. I mean, just all these peculiar things he puts together. And I said, at the end of the story, they go to the dance, they get married. She grows flowers out of her ear. It's an adorable story. Anyway, I said, so what would you say about our characters? And you have to understand now, what is the likelihood that this 39-year-old with Rett, this is her first device, she's had it for a month, okay? What's the likelihood anybody taught her to read, write, or do anything? Zip. I know that generation. They're barely doing it now. So I look at her and I think, what the heck? She's been included her whole life. She's been included in school. That doesn't mean they knew what to do with her. She's geographically included in a classroom. And she with the ABC book spelled K-I-N-D. Kind. I'm like, those are the days that I cry and I don't even try to hide it. Just an amazing young woman. And I think to myself, how long has she been waiting to be able to get her ideas out? And now she has a chance. This mom fought for her so hard to get a device. I love this mom. So, soft questioning. A long time ago, I cut my teeth, so to speak, in private practice on kids with autism. And if there's ever a group of kids that are anxious, it's kids with autism. I think my girls with Rett are anxious, but I think kids with autism have a big old issue in terms of being anxious. And I found that if I said, find the, get the, do the, everybody's anxiety went up. But if I said, I wonder, or maybe, if you took a look at where I'm pointing, then you'll see the word. I'll wait for you. If you could maybe look over there. I'm thinking this. I'm kind of wondering what you're thinking. Or I'm trying to find. Or oftentimes when I'm asking them to spell a word or make a word and I'm helping them, I pause long enough that they beat me to it. Because they're just so well, this lady's taking awful long. Maybe she doesn't know how to spell it and I'm going to help her. And they forget about their anxiety. So I just think that if we gentle ourselves down, think less like ABA therapists who have a script that tells them find the, get the, do it, and you've got so much time and then you say no. Get that out of your heads because it's not going to work with the kind of kids that we're talking about. A, they can't respond that fast. B, they know if what you're asking them to do is part of a script or something that you really want to know. Is it really what you want to find out? Are you really going to take the time to figure out me versus read something out of this book and then do it because you have to? So I just I just think that we have to gentle ourselves down, and that isn't to say that I let kids just walk all over me. That is not that what I'm trying to portray. I have high expectations for my kids. I have one right now who is getting she either gets an A day, a B day, a C day, or a D day. And she doesn't know. I mean, I ask her what I think. I ask her, what do you think you did today? Was it an A day? And we have parameters. And she's like, I did a C day. I mean, she's really honest. She knows exactly what she's doing. And it's all purposeful, so it's okay. It's not like it's just because she's anxious. She's just purposely doing it. But one of the things that she knows is that I adore her, and then I know that she's capable, and that what we have to break through is this kind of, she's mad because I'm working with her at school, and she doesn't want school to know she's smart, because then they're going to make her do the same work. This is what she's told me on her device. Bad, you're here, is what she said. Bad, you're here at school. I said, how come? Challenging. No, they know challenging. I said, yeah, they're kind of going to know that they need to challenge you because you are smart. So kids are amazing. But anyways, if I didn't have partner-assisted scan, I'm really not sure how I would know in the beginning. If we don't know their yes, no, which is the very beginning of everything, then how do we move forward with that? And if we're always changing things up, people say, well, don't you move the yes and the no to make sure they know it? And I say that's like moving a blind man's couch to see if he knows what a couch is. That would be really cruel. And it's very cruel for kids who have motor planning issues and visual memory issues and auditory processing issues to move things around, because now we've just made the task that much harder. We're not trying to test yes and no. We're trying to teach yes and no. Once they know it, once they've got it, we can use it for all kinds of things. We can use it for assessment, but we can't use it for assessment until they've got it, till they've had enough teaching and experience with it. But then the sky's the limit. I mean, I had a kiddo in Jules in 6th grade, took the district, a little girl with Rett syndrome, took the district reading assessment, had 50 questions on it. She said she could do 5 a day. She did 5 a day, and she scored at the top quartile of her district. She'd been taught to read. She had been given very good instruction. I had consulted to her school over the years. We just pulled her out, actually, of school because the high school wasn't getting it, and we're just going to teach her at home. But she was able to, with yes, no, answer questions on a standardized test to see how she stacked up against other kids. Not my druthers. That was not exactly what I had in mind for her, but she wanted to do it. Okay, stand back, Norwell. Don't tell the kid what she can't do. Just figure out a way she can do it. And so I'm just a really big proponent of walking around all the time with a yes, no, so I could embed it in everything we're doing. Right. If you're looking for a board, we actually have somebody who makes these. Let us know. We'll hook you up with them. It's not us. We don't make any money off of it. But thank goodness they make them because we need them.
And if you need the yes, no, but cards as well, if you email me, I have them saved in a format also.
Which is good.
And really quick, just wanted to talk about also using soft tech and using the boards from the thing in partner assisted scan, because you don't always have the Toby with you, but you might have printed off your core word page. And so I have taken my core word page and I have it printed off, and I literally divide it into quadrants. And so I have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So I ask my kiddos firsthand, I wonder if you need a word in quadrant 1, and give them a second to scan it. Okay, they tell me, yeah, again, that yes, no. I wonder if you have a word in quadrant 2 that you need. So again, using that soft tech version of partner assisted scan, but using the board that they're used to so that they can find their words easily and quickly. We actually had a client who started out with that way soft tech before she got her device, and was able to really jump into her device quite well when she got her device. So there are ways to do it on grid, just cutting it into quadrants, and using the quadrant method, just like we do with our course for both why can't I say the word today? For communication grid.
Right.
For great communication grid.
So there's just so many uses. I think we're only hampered by our creativity. Now, that isn't to mean that I want kids yes, no to death all day long. It is not, because that is not enough communication. We really push having a vibrant, robust communication system. We're just pulling out this one skill of partner-assisted scan, giving some uses for it. I will tell you, it is very easy to teach peers. You know what picture we should have put up here? I have it, and I didn't put it up, and now I'm really feeling bad that I didn't. I have a little girl who is going into first grade, has Rett syndrome. She has a 2-year-old brother, and the mom caught the 2-year-old brother holding up the yes, no board to his sister, pointing at the yes and the no. He had seen it be used so many times with the mom that he's now 2 years old. If he can figure it out, I think we can. He's now holding it up. He has no idea what the yes, no is. All he knows is this is a way I can communicate with my sister, and I'm going to try it out. Now, he's going to be a great communication partner up the road because he has had the experience of seeing this modeled and used. He knows her device because it is on all the time and people are using it. And so when we look at situations like that, you have to say, man, that is great. Because now kids can figure out what that person's saying without the adult being an intermediary. That's what I try to do when I do inclusion work, is let's give the kids the skill. Let them figure it out. Let's not step in every 2 seconds if they're doing it kind of wrong. You know, if they're stepping on the child and not waiting long enough, we coach them. But we coach them from a distance so that there can actually be a peer-to-peer interaction, not a peer to adult to peer. We don't want that happening. All right, so we have some links here. Are these available for them? These handouts can get to them, right? So that they can use these links? You have to turn up your microphone.
I was muted, sorry.
That's okay.
When I will have Sean put it in when we put it up on the webpage, it will include these links, and I will also make sure that these links are
live.
Once we have that up.
So these are all, I think these are all, the flip books are things you have to buy, the 4-grid communication books you have to buy, but everything else in the middle are all free. So just so you know, any of the learning things that are in the middle there, those 3, those are all free. So you can take a look at those. So I think we have I think we have some students. Brennan, are you a student also?
Yes, but I'm currently in exercise science, but I'm looking at speech pathology.
Well, there you go. So I figured anybody who looked as young as you and Lindsay have to be in school. No offense. It's just that.
Yeah, I'm a freshman this year.
Yeah,
so
it's okay.
I'm
it's
just starting to learn about all this stuff.
You don't have to say you're sorry for being young, sir. You do not. It's great to be young. It's great to feel young. We love that.
Right, yeah.
But really, just know that we are sources for you. As students, it would give us nothing more but joy if we can influence. I taught grad students for 10 years. I loved giving back to my profession. And so I just really, if you need something, if you need like an idea or you have a question, you'll be able to contact us through our emails, which I believe are they at the end?
The next page.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. So if you have any questions, please email us. It gives us great joy to help the next generation of people that are growing into this profession. So anyways, so that's it. Anybody have any questions for us right now before we sign off?
And we had a parent say, if either one of you need to interview a parent, they're always willing to speak with you. Thank you, Ashley. You're awesome.
Oh, that's lovely. That is lovely. Yeah, I tell you, I think that parents really are they know their girls. They know their kids. Oftentimes, parents get exactly what their yes is, what their no is, and what's going on. Especially in the Rett community. I'm not so sure that is pervasive across all communities. I know Stephanie's shaking her head. No. Yeah. In the Rett community, I will say, I don't know what it is. It's a very special community. But I think that the moms are really good at figuring out their kids. And then sometimes schools don't listen because they say it's just the mom. And I'm like, oh, if you only knew the wealth of information you've got sitting there. So that would be my other advice is don't discount parents because sometimes they know more than we do about their kids, and it helps if we listen to them. So.
And one last piece of advice for our students: don't ever become a know-it-all. Stay willing to learn for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
Because both Susan and I can speak to that. We've been in this for a long time, and we are both still learning on a daily basis.
That is right. If I stop learning, I'm going to stop doing. That's all there is to it. And when you meet learn-it-alls, it's like so exciting because we just grow and learn together. It's great. So anyways, have a good night, everybody. Any questions, feel free to email us. It's great to see everybody. Hope you have a good evening. Drive carefully on the way home. No, I'm just teasing. It's a Zoom. All right. Bye.
Bye.